And now, Lifestyles Unlimited presents the Real Estate Investor Radio Show. Over the next hour, we unfold your map to financial freedom. You'll learn how to retire through investing in single-family and multifamily real estate. You'll learn how to create cash flow and build wealth so you can have the time and money to live the lifestyle you want.
Welcome to the show. My name is Al Gordon, and as always, I'm working on your financial freedom. And on today's show, I'm going to go down memory lane a little bit. I'm going to reflect back on a couple of time periods in my life where I thought that maybe whatever I was doing for a living, maybe I could do something else. Maybe I wasn't getting what I needed in the current career I was in, and maybe different industries offered me a better opportunity to make money or to have a better quality of life and work balance or to have something that I felt I was missing, something that was not being fulfilled in my life. Now, this happened to me a couple of times in my life. It did. Let me give you the background. For those of you that don't know who I am, I'm a member of Lifestyles Unlimited. What Lifestyles Unlimited is specifically a real estate investor education and mentoring company. That's all they do. They do it extremely well. They sponsor this show, and we're designed to help you correct whatever deficiencies you have in your life with regards to retirement and income streams. Yeah, like I can't fix a bad marriage. I can't fix the fact that maybe your 16-year-old child is drinking underage and getting tattoos. I can't fix those things, but what I can help you fix is the path that you're currently on for retirement. Because I'm here to tell you the path that you're on for retirement, it may be failing you. It may absolutely be failing you. And I've got, well, I can speak from experience that the path to retirement that I was on didn't work. So for those of you that know me, you know my backstory, so stick around for just a few seconds while I get everybody else caught up. I spent 27 years in the United States Army. I spent my time working very hard, very diligently. I was an officer. I rose to the rank of lieutenant colonel. And then just when I thought I was going to get promoted to colonel because I had documentation saying you've been selected for promotion to colonel, I was subsequently selected for retirement, and as a result of that, I knew my military career was coming to an end. Now, in the military, one of the things that you can earn is a pension. Now, how do you get the pension? Well, and let me be very clear, you can't get this pension anymore. So if you're young and you're thinking about going in the military specifically because you want to earn a pension, that pension doesn't exist anymore. It's a relic of the past. I'm one of the folks that was able to earn a pension, but as of a certain year group, a certain date, that pension is no more. The military converted to something called a TSP, a Thrift Savings Program. That Thrift Savings Program is really just a glorified 401k. It's a way for the military to get away from paying a lot in the form of salary to people like me that don't produce anything for the Army. No, I don't produce anything for the Army. I take a paycheck. I earn that paycheck. Trust me, I spent 27 years earning that paycheck, and I get that pension. But that pension does not provide enough income to my household to sustain the lifestyle that I choose to live. How do I make up the difference? I make up the difference through passive income. Passive income that comes to me from real estate investments. Now, I primarily invest in multifamily assets. I do have some single family, but I'm primarily a multifamily investor. Now, you might be thinking that takes a lot of time, right? It takes a lot of time to do what I do. And here's the God's honest truth. It doesn't take much time at all. I think I spend, on average, maybe in an active week, in a very active week, I probably spend 1 to 2 hours focused on my real estate investments. And here's why. There's nothing to focus on. There really isn't anything to focus on. Once you get your real estate up and running, it kind of goes on cruise control. Now, there's a little bit of management that you have to do, a little bit of oversight that you have to do. You can't just like turn a blind eye to your real estate. But the reality of it is this. Once you get that real estate working for you, once you get that activity in motion, that activity, that particular asset produces 5 different ways that you make money in real estate. 5 different ways. And if you do it the way I do it in multifamily, there's actually a 6th way that we make money in real estate. So real estate is working for you whether you choose to work or not. It's as simple as that. When I was in the military, there were times when I worried about what am I going to do once I'm out of the military. Now, I didn't really think too much about could I live off of the pension because it really never came into my mind. I just figured the pension's going to be there and I'll figure it out. Well, when it came time to live off of that pension, I found out that I couldn't do it. It was very difficult, not unless I wanted to sacrifice the lifestyle that I had built up to that point. So, ironically, I made it through a 10-month period of time taking on additional debt in order to sustain my household. And then I got myself into a job that paid me the income that I needed in order to sustain my household again. But in that job, I found myself wondering what the future would be like, wondering what the future would hold. Now, in the new job, I pretty much resigned myself to working for like 20 years straight because the new job would pay me a pension. I'd get a second pension. I could add it to the first pension I was already earning. And then at the age of 70, I could get maximum Social Security benefits. Maximum Social Security benefits. And here's the problem. I didn't want to keep working for the rest of my life. I couldn't live off of the pension, and ironically, all the medals that I received, not one of those medals provides me an income stream. You may be thinking the same way. Now, I'm not saying that you're serving in the United States Army, but you're serving somewhere, are you not? I mean, you're working for somebody else, or you're working for yourself as a self-employed individual. Some of you are looking at limited career growth. That's kind of what I was looking at when I was in municipal government. I just saw myself stuck. I didn't see any way to accelerate through the organization. And to be honest with you, I wasn't sure that I wanted to accelerate through the organization. I really just wanted to stop working for somebody else. Now, maybe you're dealing with bad management. I dealt with that. I dealt with that in the military. I dealt with that in municipal government. And there's different levels of bad management. I mean, sometimes it's your direct report, right? Sometimes they are a bad manager, and no matter how much you want to help them, you can't fix the fact that they're bad at managing. Maybe the person you work for is great. Maybe they're an excellent manager. I mean, I've worked for those kind of people, but the people above them, not so great. Not so great. So that impacts the greatness of the person you're working for, right? Maybe you're dealing with the lack of recognition. Maybe you just feel like you're just sitting in the cubicle and just, spinning on your hamster wheel, and nobody knows that you're there. Maybe that's the way you feel. You feel like you're unnoticed, unappreciated, undervalued. It demotivates you, right? Yeah, it does. What about a mismatch of skills and job requirements? I mean, that's kind of where I was at in municipal government. You got to remember, I went from being a person with a lot of authority, a lot of responsibility in the United States Army to somebody with not a lot of responsibility, not a lot of authority in municipal government, and it drove me bananas. I was mismatched. I was totally mismatched. Maybe you're dealing with an unhealthy work environment. Yeah, maybe there's stress. Maybe you got some bullying going on. Maybe there's some form of harassment going on. That happens in the workplace, and maybe you're dealing with it. Maybe you're thinking, I've got to get away from this. Maybe you've got job insecurity. Maybe you have no sense of purpose. Maybe you lack autonomy, or there is a lack of autonomy within the organization. Maybe you're dealing with physical and mental health issues that are brought on by the fact that you're working in a certain job that's just negatively impacting you. Maybe the commute's kicking your bottom. Yeah, it's possible. I mean, I remember when I was working for municipal government, I had a very stressful commute. To get to work was like going into a boxing ring with everybody else on the freeway. It's what it felt like. Yeah, and then coming home, just as bad. And then the traffic coming home always seemed to be worse than the traffic going to work. Do you ever notice that? It's like everybody and their brother decide to get on the freeway at the same time, and then nobody's moving, right? Nobody's moving. And maybe you have just a mismatch of your values. Maybe your value system is over here, and maybe the organization's value system is over there. Now, all of these things can lead you to wanting to potentially move away from what you're doing. But you're stuck, right? You're stuck. And let's talk about why you're stuck. You're stuck because you're reliant upon that paycheck. You are reliant upon a paycheck. You don't know that, do you? You are. Well, okay, well let's just call it the way it is. Let's say your employer calls you into the office this afternoon, and the conversation is, "Hey, Bob." Okay, I don't know if your name's Bob, but if your name's Bob, I apologize for using your name, but you're the guy I picked on. "Bob, we have decided that we no longer need your services. Thank you very much. These two ugly men next to you will help you clean out your desk and escort you to the front door." Okay, that just described a firing. That could happen. You could also be downsized. Or in the current crazy environment that we're in economically, what if an employer decides they can't afford to pay you, but they still need your services? What if they come back and they say, "Hey, Bob, here's the deal. We were looking to downsize you. We were looking to eliminate you. What we decided to do was go ahead and downsize your salary, but keep all your responsibilities. So if you want to keep working here, we're going to only pay 80% of what we used to pay you effective now." Does that happen? Yes, that happens. Can that happen to you? Yes, that can happen to you. It can put you into a situation where you're trying to live off of less than you brought in. Or what if you actually got downsized? What if you were actually fired? What if you were eliminated from the job? Now what? Now you have no income coming in at all. No income at all coming in, yet your expenses are still there. So what do? Well, you scramble, right? You scramble to get back out into the workforce because, first of all, you got to shake off the shock of the fact that you're no longer working for an employer that maybe you were happy with or you were not happy with, right? And now you've got to do something different. And what about you that didn't get downsized? What about you that are happy with where you're working? Is this a viable option for you to retire in the future? I want you to question that because if you look at statistics, now go get your own statistics. I could throw stats out at you, but I want you to do your own research. How many people actually get to a place of retirement doing exactly what you're doing currently right now, which is, by the way, saving money for retirement? That's exactly what you're doing. I know you think you're investing, but you're not investing. You're saving money for retirement. We just call it a 401k or an IRA or whatever you're putting that money into, but it's a giant savings account, and it's designed to make you have to figure out if you can live your entire life and not run out of money. It's a tough place. When we come back from the break, I'm going to get into the possibilities when we step away from what we're doing. Stick around.
Got questions? Call Lifestyles Unlimited at 855-497-4335. The Real Estate Investor Radio Show continues next.
So when I say be ready, number one, to get ready, you better join up Lifestyles Unlimited and learn all these things we're talking about. If you're out there piddling and, internet information and your buddy's information or your dad's information, it's not going to get you the results that we're talking about. You're going to have to be educated in what we're doing.
Learn from the people that are already where you want to be. Join us for the free online workshop at lifestylesunlimitedworkshop.com.
Creating the lifestyle you've always wanted. You're hearing Lifestyles Unlimited's Real Estate Investor Radio Show.
Welcome back to the second half of the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show. My name is Al Gordon, and as always, I'm working on your financial freedom. And on this show, I'm really just trying to get into your mind. I'm trying to get into your psyche. I'm trying to address whether or not you feel that you are on track for your life. Yeah, I'm serious about that. Now, there are people out there that will never, ever address this with you. And for the majority of you listening to me, you don't even know who I am. You have no idea who I am. Yet I am willing to talk about something that is affecting you materially today in this very life that no one else, even your inner circle of friends, will not talk to you about. So let's talk about it. Are you happy with what you're doing? Or are you just going through the motions? Now, I found that in my two careers that I had two careers, one in the military for 27 years, one in municipal government for about maybe 3.5 years. I don't even think it was 3.5 years. I think it was like 2.5 to 3 years. I don't even care, to be honest with you, because I don't even count it as a career. I more or less feel like it was more like a sentence. Yeah, it was more like a financial sentence. I had to go take a job that I really wasn't interested in doing, but I could do it very well because I needed to solve the financial bleeding that was going on in my life because I tried to retire from the United States Army and live off of the pension that I earned. And here's the problem. That pension, it didn't pay me enough money. There was not enough money coming into my household. So what did I do? I did what every other retiree does out of the military. I tried to get back in the workforce because that's what they teach you to do. Because even those in power in the military, they know that even though the pension, it's nice to have, it doesn't pay you enough money to live off of unless you want to really dramatically reduce your standard of living. Yeah, and I wasn't willing to do that. Plus, I had a wife that wasn't willing to do that. I still have her, by the way. And I have 2 children that at that time were getting ready to go to college. So bad time for me to try and live off of a pension. So I got back into the workforce. And ironically, it was difficult for me to get back into the workforce. Now, I had rejected the industrial military complex. I didn't want anything to do with it. So I just closed the door on that thing. So I had to look in the civilian sector somewhere, and I looked everywhere, and I couldn't find the job that I wanted, that I felt that I was qualified for, that would pay me what I felt I was worth. I had to take a job that paid me a lot less, but it was the job that I needed to stop the financial bleeding in my household because the pension wasn't paying me enough money. Does that make sense to you? Now, the majority of you listening to me, you're trading time for money right now. You're doing exactly what I used to do. I am here to tell you there is a viable way for you to step away from what you're doing right now and to get yourself retired within the next 5 years. Now, it has nothing to do with starting your own business. It has nothing to do with just saying, that's it, I quit, walking out, and then pretending to live off of whatever nest egg you've built up. Because I will tell you this, that nest egg will dissipate really fast. It will evaporate very fast, especially at your current cost of living, right? Because if you look at what the majority of you are spending in your households, the majority of you are spending everything that you bring in. Now, there's the money that goes to the 401k, or the money that goes to the IRA, or the money that goes into the stock fund, right? Okay, well, can we agree to that? How much of that, how much money is that in relation to your total income? Is it 3%? Is it 5%? I don't know. You maybe you don't even know. Maybe it's something you set up a couple years ago, and in that time period, you've gotten some raises, but you haven't gone back to adjust that retirement account, right? So you're only putting in a certain amount of money. And that amount of money you're putting in, I'm not worried about that. I'm really not worried about that, and here's why. What I'm more concerned about is how much money that you've actually saved up. How much money is in there? If you left your job right now, let's say the 2 big ugly guys came into your cubicle with your boss and said, hey, you got to clean out your desk right now. These 2 guys are going to help you get to the front door, right? Because it happens. And it's happening in corporate America. It's happening across the nation right now. I don't care whether you believe we're in a recession or not. I'm here to tell you, it looks like a recession to me. It smells like a recession to me. It tastes like a recession to me. I think we're in a recession, folks. And if you look at the definition of recession, we have been in a recession for a while. We have actually talked about being in a recession on this radio show in the distant past. Nothing's changed. Look at what interest rates are doing. Some of you are concerned about getting into real estate because you're afraid of those interest rates. Here's what I've got to tell you about those interest rates. Don't be afraid of them. Don't be afraid of them at all, because the market will actually blend those interest rates into the equation, and you will buy or not buy an asset based on whether or not you can afford it with the prevailing interest rates. Now, the majority of properties out there, they trade with leverage on them. In other words, they have a loan on them. That means they are trading with a balance due. Does that make sense? Okay, let me take a step back because I'm getting off track, and I want to get back onto you. I want to get back onto you and what you're doing right now, because it's either working or it's not working. So why is this so important? Now, earlier in the show, I said, go get your own statistics, right? All right, well, I'm going to throw a stat out for you because I know some of you didn't have time because you're busy working. I get that. I totally get that. 9 out of 10 Americans 9 out of 10 Americans, when they get to a point of retirement, which, by the way, is 67 years of age, based on what the United States government says is the actual retirement age in our country, the age of 67, 9 out of 10 Americans will retire at or below income poverty levels. There will not be enough money in that savings account for you to live the lifestyle that you currently have while you're working. So what does that mean? That means, well, you got two options. Either keep working or not work. And if you choose not to work, then you got to figure out how to live off that bag of money. And then while you're trying to figure out how to live off that bag of money, you got to figure out how long you're going to live, because that's going to have an impact on the amount of money that you have. Because keep in mind, when you choose to stop working, you have stepped away from bringing income into your household. Therefore, all of your expenses become 100% and your income becomes 0% until you start pulling money out of savings. Statistically, that's the path you're headed down. That is the roadmap you're following. The roadmap that I'm going to suggest to you does not end like that. The reason being is because we have to change your concept of what retirement looks like. It ain't going to work out for you. So what do? My suggestion is that you take a look at what you've currently saved right now and start thinking about how you can repurpose that big pot of money, and you can actually start buying assets that appreciate over time, assets that will make you money 5, possibly 6 different ways, depending on the type of asset that you invest in. And by the way, you can transition away from that job that you have right now, and you can eliminate whatever angst you have about having that job. Let's say you're 40 years of age, and your current game plan has you trading time for money until you get to the age of 67. But if you do as I'm saying, we can get you retired in the next 5 years. It is a methodical approach to transitioning your dollars from where they sit right now, which is in a savings account, into an actual asset that produces income streams for you. And it's with those income streams that you will retire yourself. All right, let's say you make $100,000 a year. And with that $100,000 a year, you're paying taxes, you're paying Social Security, you're paying Medicare, you're putting money into your 401k. Chances are, even though your salary is about $100,000 per year, your take-home pay after all of that stuff that comes out of your check, is probably closer to $60,000 per year. You're probably living off about $5,000 worth of income every month. And out of that $5,000, it probably goes to about $5,000 worth of expenses. So what is it going to take for you to replace that income? Based on some properties that I was looking at this morning before I came on the radio show, I'm seeing that the estimated cash flow on a lot of these properties is coming in at around $280 per month. So what that means is you buy an asset that produces cash flow of $280 per month. Now, let's say it's going to cost you $29,000 to buy that cash flow. What's your rate of return? Your rate of return works out to be about 11.8%. That's probably a better rate of return that than you're getting in whatever you're currently so-called investing in, or I should say savings in, right? Okay, 11.8%. Is that going to retire you? Well, if you annualize $280, it works out to be around $3,400 per annum. Can you live off of $3,400 per year? Short answer is no. Short answer is no. You can't do it, right? Okay, and I'm not suggesting that you do, but what I am suggesting is that now we have a number that you can work with. If you're buying assets that produce $280 per month in cash flow, and you need effectively $60,000 worth of income, you're going to need about 18 houses to get that done. You heard me correctly, 18 houses. Now, how much is that going to cost? Well, if it's costing you $29,000 per property, you're going to need about, a little over $500,000. But I will tell you this, if you've got $500,000 in your 401k, actually you're going to need a little bit more than that, because if you're going to take the money out of the 401k, you're going to have to pay the taxes on it. So you're going to need a little bit more money. So estimate you're going to need, let's say, $650,000 so that you can pay the taxes. And we have vendors that can help you eliminate the penalty of 10%. you are going to need a net of about $500,000 to buy all the properties that you need. Now, how long is it going to take you to buy 18 properties? Well, if you do it the Lifestyles Unlimited way, we can get you on a plan that'll get you done in about roughly a year and a half. It might take you 2 years, but you can get done in about a year and a half. What am I suggesting to you? That by repurposing the money in your 401k and buying tangible assets such as real estate, by buying 18 single-family houses, you can effectively retire yourself within the next 2 years. You heard me correctly. Now, some of you are saying, wait a minute now, hold on. If that's going to bring in $60,000 per year, I'm going to have to pay taxes on that $60,000, correct? And the short answer is not really. And here's why. Because those assets are authorized to take a write-off, a tax write-off called depreciation, the income that you make off of those assets will be protected by the depreciation that you take on those assets. What that means is you're not going to pay anything in the form of taxes on that income, and chances are you're still going to have depreciation left over that you can use it to offset other income streams or other gains that you make. Pretty cool stuff, right? So think about it. This is what I want you thinking about. Now, some of you are going, man, I don't even know how to do that. How do I do that? It's real simple. That's where Lifestyles Unlimited comes in. What I want you to do is I want you to check out Lifestyles Unlimited. Go to lifestylesunlimited.com. When you get there, check out all the stuff on the website. There's a radio tab there, which is all of our radio shows like you're listening to right now. They're all repurposed as podcasts. They're all available to you. There are articles that you can read that talk to you about investing, specifically real estate investing. And more importantly, what I want you to do when you go to lifestylesunlimited.com is I want you to sign up for one of our free workshops. We talk about how we buy single-family properties. We talk to you about how we buy multifamily properties. We get into the nuts and bolts of how we make money in real estate. We go into depth over the 5 different ways we make money in real estate, 6 different ways if we're talking about multifamily investments. I will tell you, it's an hour and a half of your time that is well spent. The information that you will receive, which is free, by the way, we don't charge you anything for it because we want you to understand the possibilities. We want you to understand what you can effectively do when you become a member of Lifestyles Unlimited and you change your investing strategy. You change the trajectory of what you're doing. Now, some of you are thinking, well, gee, Al, I don't want to do like 18 single-family houses because I would have to buy like 18 single-family houses. Okay, you want to get it done with one property? No problem. You go out and you buy yourself a 60-unit apartment community. Why do I suggest a 60-unit apartment community? Because we know that you're going to make about $100 per door on a 60-unit apartment community. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. You're already doing the math in your head, right? Yeah, you could probably get by with a 50-unit apartment community, but why stop at 50 if you can afford 60? And if you're starting with well over $500,000 in your, I'll call it an impound account, called a retirement account, yeah, you can get yourself on a glide path to retirement in the next 5 years. And don't be surprised if you get it done even sooner than that. If you want to do what I'm doing, go to lifestylesunlimited.com, sign up for a free workshop, and let's get you going.
The information and opinions you hear on the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show are those of the hosts, guests, and callers. The Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show is for entertainment purposes only. Please consult a professional regarding your personal investment needs. Nothing presented constitutes an endorsement, recommendation, offer, or solicitation to buy or sell any product or security.